What is up, baby? We back. Let's get it. Okay, so before making this video, I made a post on Reddit asking people to share who they thought their favorite Pokemon is and why. The goal for me was to find out what makes certain Pokemon appeal to people, but not to others. And in doing so, well, I'm still lost. What's interesting is the vote had no conclusive answer. In fact, it was very varied, and favorites ranged from Meowstic all the way to Aegislash. Picks that, well, until I made this poll, I never really would have expected. But that still begs the question. There are definitely some Pokemon that are more well received than others. So why is this the case? Well, it's marketing, as you may have known if you've been an avid viewer of this channel. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to a new series. A series where I will be breaking down how every individual Pokemon has been marketed, starting with one of the most popular of all time, Charizard. So how has Charizard been marketed? Well, Charizard was the first Pokemon ever created, and this obviously gave it a huge advantage. It was new, exciting, and attached to something that was completely different to anything else at the time. But Charizard also has an incredible design. I mean, like, it's a fucking dragon. It was specifically created to fit this aggressive archetype. Eyes with a positive canthal tilt, very sharp claws, and very sharp teeth. This large body size and wings with a tremendous amount of angularity. The Pokemon designers did this on purpose. They wanted to give that final evolution of Charmander that intimidating look. To better illustrate this point, look at these two Naruto characters, Tobirama and Rock Lee. While one looks incredibly dangerous, the other one looks relatively unassuming in comparison. This is because of the shape of their eyes. All predatory animals, especially big cats, have these huge eye designs where the inner portion of the eye is lower and the outer portion is higher. It gives the individual this predatory look, which Charizard has in its design. Oh, and not to mention it also breathes fire, which is pretty fitting for the dragon design that it's based off of. Tip 2, the anime. In the beginning, Charizard was never a prominent feature in Pokemon's marketing push. Pikachu was forever the primary mascot alongside Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and of course Charmander. When Ash's Charizard first popped up, he was often portrayed as this prideful, unresponsive grump that the team desperately needed to win over. He often avoided Ash's commands and used his attacks on him instead, which is pretty crazy. In fact, at one point in the gym battle, Charizard fell asleep instead of responding to Ash's commands, costing him the badge. But as the anime progressed, Charizard began listening to Ash, and they slowly built this strong bond. This ultimately culminated in Charizard caring deeply about Ash, which gave depth to his character. Now this is interesting because it was deliberate by the anime writers. Value is something that is sought after, and as such, making Charizard a character that had to be won over made him seem, at least in the eyes of a viewer, as something that is more valuable. It was used to give him an edge, differentiate him from the other Pokemon characters. This, along with the mounting screen time, obviously made us viewers like Charizard more and more. But of course, let's not forget about the vast amount of power Charizard is portrayed to have. I mean, look at this video.
Go, Charizard! You slash!
Right as Charizard enters, you can see the animators wanted to make a show of his raw power. Be it in the anime or the video games, every appearance Charizard makes displays his strength. I mean, he literally fights legendaries. Tip 3, the promotion. Pokemon naturally had to choose some mons to promote more than others, obviously. This was done by measuring the feedback from each character design and then selecting the one with the most positive feedback. But in the beginning, that was Bulbasaur. However, that quickly changed in 1998 when Ash's Charizard took full control. Charizard made appearances in 3 Smash games, in Pokken, in X and Y, and has one of the most appearances of any starter in the Pokemon anime. Not to mention the ridiculous amount of plushies and toys sold globally on a regular basis. On top of this, its first edition card is literally the highest valued Pokemon card of all time. And oh, by the way, it has a Gigantamax form and 2 Mega Evolutions. Not 1, 2. Some starter Pokemon don't even have 1 yet. Obviously, Pokemon and Nintendo and Game Freak made a conscious effort to push Charizard out onto the public as much as possible. And this creates desire because, again, people often love the first Pokemon that introduces them to the game as a whole. But it needs to be said, was Charizard promoted this much because he was initially so well received, or because the Pokemon company thought they could use his cool design to make people get more and more into Pokemon? Well, it's a bit of both, with them ramping up once they found out how many people truly love Charizard. On a side note, another large promotional burst Charizard got was through Logan Paul, who wore a PSA graded 10 original run foil Charizard card to the ring for his bout with Floyd Mayweather. Did I also mention that Charizard is really good competitively? Because he is. Don't at me. Don't at me. And the last point that makes Charizard so well liked is his sentimentality. Being one of the first Pokemon ever released, all the starters in the Gen 1 games have this aura of sentimentality associated with them. People often get attached to the first Pokemon they ever played with, especially if it's a starter. And most people usually first played Pokemon as a kid. Because of this, those good feelings of childhood get somewhat attached to the first Pokemon they chose. And when they think about that Pokemon, they look back with fond memories that creates this rush of dopamine. A rush of dopamine that multiplies every single time we think about that Pokemon. There's no doubt, for a lot of people, and me, Charizard is one of those Pokemon. Marketing, at the end of the day, is about creating emotions. And there's no doubt that Pokemon does this for us. That's the funny thing about Pokemon as a whole. Nintendo keeps cranking out new mons left and right, all equipped with their own unique quirks and stories, ensuring that the Pokemon canon stays flushed with new ideas. And yet, there's this aura with Charizard that can never be recaptured. He was the coolest and rarest Pokemon in a world at a time when many of today's young adults were at their most impressionable.